Hi guys, welcome to another Bronte tour video. So today I'm in Thornton and right behind me is St James's Church, which is the new St James's Church, whereas I am currently in it looks like a cemetery, which is part of the old St James's Church. Now the reason why we're in here, going to the old St James's Church, is due to the fact that this is the church that Patrick Bronte actually worked at when he was based here in Thornton. So we have here what is meant to have been part of the church, meant to be supposedly where the steeple was. It's part of the feature of the old church, and if I take you down here I'm going to have to be very careful so I don't slip, but this is all that remains of the old St James's Church, which is what Patrick Bronte would have seen and worked at. So I've been very careful. So this is the structure of the church. This is what the size of the church would have been like, and that lovely structure just there would have been at the top of the church. So I'll take you through. So there is a plaque dedicated to Patrick Bronte just up here. I don't feel it's a very good likeness of him, but we have some plaques, and you can see the window there where it's been overgrown. But if we make our way through here, very carefully, we don't want to slip because these stones are not very good when they're wet. We have a back room just here. So this is a back room which would have been part of the church. It's probably likely this is where he would have gotten ready for sermons and various things like that. So this is St James's old church. It was also referred to as the Old Bell by locals, and it would have been here that Patrick Bronte was working. But it was also here where 5 of his 6 children were actually baptised as well. Not by Patrick, but by a family friend. It's a very miserable day. But I will take you through to the other side of the church so you can see it from the back. So that is all that remains of the old bell or old St James's Church. And this is the back of it. So we were just in there, which is the little room. And as you can see through the window all the way there is the feature just there, which would have been at the top of the church at the time. This was the second place that the Brontes as a family actually moved to. So originally, as you saw in my first tour video, that they that they were based in Liversedge area initially, or Hartshead. That's where Patrick was originally working, and the family were living in Liversedge. And then he was given this position here in Thornton when his 2 youngest were only about 1 year old and a couple of months old, and he moved the whole family here because he was given a parsonage, and he was also given more money. Like you do, you move where the money is. So it was here that his daughter Elizabeth was first baptised, and it was also here in Thornton that the remainder of the Bronte family were born. So Charlotte, Bramwell, Emily and then Anne were also born here in Thornton. It was also while they were in Thornton that they actually befriended this woman called Elizabeth Firth. They also befriended her father as well. But it's Elizabeth Firth's diary that we end up having an insight into what life was like for the Brontes, to some extent, what life was like. Elizabeth Firth was only a teenager when she first met the Brontes, but she inspired them to send their girls to Crofton Hall in Wakefield, which is a later on thing. Lots of stuff happened in regards to Elizabeth Firth. But it was here in Thornton that the family actually first met. It was also here in Thornton that Maria Bronte, the mother, had an essay published which was called The Advantages of Poverty in Religious Matters. This was heavily inspired by the people that had influenced her and her religious perspectives on life. But it just goes to show that she had something published, and that the iconic famous Bronte sisters, Charlotte, Emily and Anne, were not the only ones to have things published. If anything, the Brontes, all of them, had already seen their name in print. So their mother had had the essay published, their father had had about 2 books of poems published, and out of all the siblings to have works published, it was actually Bramwell that first had some poems published before the girls eventually had their poems kind of published. So it was published but wasn't hugely accepted, wasn't popular, and then they ended up writing their novels, obviously. But back to being baptised here in Thornton. As you saw, there's nothing left of the original church. But the font of which the girls were baptised in and Bramwell were baptised in is actually in St James's Church, the new one. So if you ever get a chance to go in there, you can actually see the original, you'll be able to see the actual desk that Patrick worked at when he was preparing his sermons, and you also get to see the font of where the girls and Bramwell were baptised at. So I'm now onto the birthplace of the Brontes, and it has just opened up. So I'm now just going to the Bronte birthplace, and it's the first time I'm ever going actually into the house. I've never been in before, so this is very exciting. That was amazing, and thank you to my tour guide Mark for all his information. It was so knowledgeable, and I'm buzzing. I'm so over the moon that I got to go into the house that the Brontes were born in. And yeah, whilst we were going around, he was talking about the different fireplaces, because they know that they were born in front of a fireplace, and they think it's the one that's going to be in the cafe now. And it's just, oh, it was amazing. It was so amazing. And it's just interesting as well, because he kept on saying about where the house is. A butcher's was built on the outside. This is why it's got a little extra building on the outside. But that was built later. So originally they would have been able to look through a window that would look straight towards the church where Patrick was working. And yeah, you can actually stay. You can actually stay in that house. It's just so cool. So unbelievably cool. So I'm going to take you back to the car now. So there is another building here in Thornton, which I'm not going to take you to because someone actually still lives there, but it's called Kippin House, and it's where Elizabeth Firth was living, and it's where the Bronte children actually used to go to frequently for afternoon tea with their parents as well. And yeah, it was just, they actually had a nice life here, and eventually Patrick was given the opportunity to go and move to Haworth, and then the whole family uprooted with servants in tow and went to Haworth. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tour / me visiting the Thornton birthplace for the first time. It's actually open to the public. You can go to the cafe, you can actually stay there as well. There are 3 bedrooms that you can stay in, and yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another one soon. Bye guys.